every single season, there are going to be players that you pick up off the waiver wire that help put the team on their back and help you win that championship. This year, we are going to find a couple of players off the waiver wire throughout the season that are going to do exactly that. They are going to become league winners. In today's video, I got 10 plus players that you need to not just walk, you need to sprint Usain Bolt style to the waiver wire to pick up prior to week number 3. Before we got into things, though, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you don't enjoy it, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 3 waiver wire ads for the 2025 fantasy football season. We begin with Bhayshul Tuten, running back of the Jacksonville Jaguars, going up against the Houston Texans this week at home in Duval. 45% rostered on Sleeper. Last week, Bhayshul Tuten was a guy that we talked about throughout the week. I did not include him in the waiver wire video because Tank Bigsby was still on the team when I recorded that video. Now he's obviously been traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, and throughout the week, I talked about how I believe that he was worthy of a speculative ad. I wasn't all crazy about, oh, you need to pick him up and start him last week up against the Bengals, but if for some reason you had the cojones to do that, it definitely paid off, and you picking him up early definitely paid off. But he is still available in over 50% of leagues on Sleeper, so make sure you do scoop him up if he is available. Running back 16 last week up against the Bengals in Cincinnati. He had 8 rushes for 42 yards, as well as 2 receptions on 2 targets for 32 yards and a touchdown, scoring 15.4 PPR points. Now, it's very important to understand that this is still very much ETN's backfield. Out of 71 snaps played last week on the offense, ETN played 47, Tuten 18, and LaQuint Allen 11. ETN dominated the snaps as well as the routes run on the offense. Tuten is definitely worthy of an ad, and because Liam Cohen seems as though he is great with running backs, and with Bigsby in Philly, it would be very smart to have him on your team. For one, he could just be an elite handcuff. If something happened to ETN, knock on wood, he could end up being a league winner. But even if nothing ends up happening to him in positive matchups, or if he is able to steal more of the snaps away from ETN, then we could see a potential very viable running back play out of Bhayshul Tuten. So again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you got to start him up against the Houston Texans. It is far from that, but he definitely should be on your bench. At number 2, we got Juwan Johnson, tight end of the New Orleans Saints, going up against the Seattle Seahawks this week in Seattle. We talked about him last week, 50% rostered on Sleeper. Tight end 4 last week up against the 49ers. He is the clear tight end 1 on this team. He played 68 out of 71 of the offensive snaps last week up against the Niners. He scored 15.6 PPR points in week 1 up against the Cardinals. 8 receptions on 11 targets for 76 yards. Last week up against the 49ers, 15.9 PPR points, 9 targets, 5 receptions, 49 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. Do I love having to start the tight end 1 on the New Orleans Saints because Spencer Rattler's the starting quarterback? Fuck no, baby. But honestly, based on what we've seen through the first 2 weeks of the season, my confidence level is quickly increasing. If you are someone that's dealing with Mark Andrews absolutely blowing your back out week in and week out, if you're someone that's playing the tight end guessing game weekly, maybe you have Evan Ingram on your team, then it is definitely time, if Juwan Johnson is available, to go ahead and pick him up. Again, I don't love Spencer Rattler. I don't love the Saints offense, but they appear to want to utilize Juwan Johnson heavily. It appears that Spencer Rattler uses him as his safety blanket, so he definitely needs to be added, and you can certainly play him. And honestly, this week, I might rank him as a top 12, maybe even a top 10 tight end up against the Seahawks in Seattle. At number 3, we got Troy Franklin, wide receiver of the Denver Broncos, going up against the LA Superchargers in SoFi, in LA, 8% rostered over on Sleeper. Wide receiver 7 in PPR last week at the Indianapolis Colts. In that game, he had 8 receptions on 9 targets for 89 yards and a touchdown, as well as 1 carry for 11 rushing yards. Him and Bo Nix have that connection dating back to their days at Oregon, even though that connection wasn't really fully developed even in the slightest. Last season, out of 59 total snaps on the offense, Franklin played 49, Sutton 45, Sherfield 23, Mims 21, and Pat Bryant played in 15. Through the first 2 games, Troy Franklin leads the wide receivers in targets. He has 15 targets through 2 games. Cortland Sutton has 13, Marvin Mims 6, Pat Bryant 3, and Trent Sherfield has 2. In terms of receptions, he leads the team with 12. Cortland Sutton has 7. He has a touchdown, Sutton has a touchdown, and so does Marvin Mims. I don't think Cortland Sutton's job has been stolen by Franklin as the wide receiver 1 on this team. Honestly, I think it is far from that. I still think Sutton is basically a must start every single week. We saw that this offense was able to bounce back after looking like complete and utter dog shit up against the Titans in week number 1. So Troy Franklin definitely worthy of being picked up at this point. And with Evan Ingram fading away like a jumper from Michael Jordan, I feel very, very good about Troy Franklin going forward, especially with how good Bo Nix looked last week. Next up, we got Elic Ayomanor, wide receiver of the Tennessee Titans, going up against the Colts, 28% rostered on Sleeper. There's a guy that we talked about in last week's waiver wire ad video. He was the wide receiver 22 last week up against the LA Rams. Now, it's important to note, I should have probably said this off Jump Street, shout out to Jonah Hill, that these stats are prior to Monday Night Football. I understand that other teams play tonight. There's actually 2 games on tonight, so these guys will probably fall down a little bit in the week 2 standings, but I can't just rub my crystal ball and tell you exactly what's going to happen tonight. That would be a little bit crazy, and if for some reason someone gets hurt tonight, something changes tonight, then I will update you guys in the comment section about how my waiver wire ads would change. So Elic Ayomanor looks like the clear number 2 wide receiver on the Tennessee Titans in terms of snaps last week, 66 snaps for the Titans offensively. Calvin Ridley, 57, Ayomanor, 28, Shimry Dyke, 28, and Van Jefferson, 17. Last week, we saw Ayomanor go 6 targets, 4 receptions, 56 yards, and a touchdown on that crazy fucking ring around the rosy play from that looked like something straight out of like college football, NCAA 26, the video game. Looked like some Madden shit out of Cam Ward. He scored a touchdown on that. He is the number 2 target on this team. 14 targets for Calvin Ridley, 13 for Ayomanor. He has 6 receptions. Calvin Ridley has 7. I still do strongly believe that Calvin Ridley isn't just a dead man walking at this point, that Calvin Ridley isn't finished. I think he is still going to end up being a wide receiver 2 for your fantasy team that is incredibly reliable. But as of right now, with how many snaps Ayomanor is playing, with how strong the offense views him, if he's already playing the second most snaps on the team at the wide receiver position as a rookie, and not like an early round rookie, you got to feel very good about his projection going deeper into the season as Cam Ward gets more and more accustomed to playing in the NFL. At number 5, we have Indianapolis Jones, Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans, 35% rostered on Sleeper. We have seen the revival, a little bit of a revive, quick revive, Call of Duty style, like when you pack-a-punch the ballista, you shoot the ballistic knives, you shoot it at someone, and it revives them in Black Ops 1. That is what we are seeing out of the Indianapolis Colts. They have rejuvenated the career of Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones has me feeling real nicey this week up against the Titans in Tennessee. 35% rostered on Sleeper. If your quarterback position is giving you a headache, if your quarterback position is not looking very nice, then you definitely want Danny Dimes on your team. Quarterback 5 last week versus the Denver Broncos. And going into last week, I basically said, hey, Daniel Jones absolutely torched my Dolphins defense. He lit us on fire. He scored damn near 30 fantasy points that game. I said, you know what? We're going to pump the brakes up against the Denver Broncos. I think he's going to have a down game. Then maybe he bounces back up against the Titans. I didn't say that Daniel Jones was guaranteed to be Fugazi after one game, but I said, you know what? You want to just see it before you truly believe it, like you're in the Polar Express, okay? I said, we wait, we see what happens. But if you played him, if you had the giant cojones, the balls to play him, it paid off in a big way. Up against the Denver Broncos defense, in my opinion, the best defense in the NFL, this man scored 22.8 points. He had 23 completions on 34 attempts, a 67.6% completion percentage, 316 yards, 1 tug, as well as 1 rushing touchdown. Daniel Jones, I don't know. You know, I'll be honest, I don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be a long-time starter in the NFL. But what I do know is based on his rushing upside, based upon the offensive line in front of him and the weapons around him, Daniel Jones needs to be rostered. And this week up against the Titans, I am definitely going to be starting him. At number 6, we got Romeo Doubs, wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers, going up against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, 23% rostered over on Sleeper. Jaden Reed broke his collarbone in the first quarter of the Packers win up against the Commanders. Head coach Matt LaFleur stated after the game that he will be out for quite some time, but is expected to return at some point this season. Whenever you hear the "at some point this season," that throws a lot of red alarms in my brain. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Time to panic. I think he will return based on what LaFleur said, but probably not for a while. Now, Romeo Doubs right now is the wide receiver one on this team. Now, the way Jordan Love does an offense, and with LaFleur, they don't really have a wide receiver one, so what they do is the Oprah offense. We say this all the time, right? Where it's you get the ball, you get the ball, you all get the ball, check under your seat, there's a ball under the fucking seat, baby. Romeo Doubs is the wide receiver one, but really, it's looking like it might also end up just being Tucker Kraft. If Matthew Golden and Jordan Love had a better connection, Matthew Golden would be the wide receiver one on this team. He would have had a ridiculous bonkers game up against the Washington Commanders last week. But instead, Doubs was the wide receiver 30 in PPR. He had 5 receptions on 3 targets for 28 yards and a tug. Happy birthday to Deshaun Watson, the king of tugs. Romeo Doubs played the most snaps, 74%. Matthew Golden, 59%. Dotavian John Wicks, 54%. And Heath, 32%. He led the team in snaps in week 1 as well with 71%. He's led the wide receivers in targets through the first 2 games with 9. He has the second most receptions with 5. And he has 1 touchdown, and Jaden Reed has the other touchdown. Again, I think eventually Matthew Golden is going to break free. Him and Jordan Love are going to get on the same page, and he will be the guy. But as of right now, if you need an upside start up against the Cleveland Browns in a game that might just be the Cleveland Browns as a punching bag, I think Romeo Doubs is certainly worthy of an ad. And again, if your wide receiver core is a little bit finicky, you can throw in Romeo Doubs. At number 7, we have a guy that I basically pulled my pants down and took a shit directly on this guy last week. I said, if you play Wan'Dale Robinson, you are basically just wrapping your team in 52 condoms. You're saying, oh my gosh, I want 9 fantasy points, because that's what Wan'Dale does. He gets you 8 to 12 fantasy points, and you're happy about it. He is a PPR merchant. He will get 8 targets and somehow finish the game with 7 catches for 40 yards and do diddly squat for your fantasy team. He's just reliable. If you're in a bye week situation, your whole wide receiver core is whacked out and you have to play him, it's fine. But last week, he showed off something that I have not seen before. A deep ball receiving threat that was 8 of 10 for 142 yards and a touchdown, long of a 50-yard reception. 14.2 yards per target. Now, I am hesitant to truly believe in Wan'Dale Robinson because this motherfucker has had big games before. You buy into it, you buy all the stock, right? And then the stocks come crashing down like Black Monday, okay? I like Wan'Dale Robinson as, the clear number 2 receiver in New York with the Giants, but do we really think Russell Wilson is going to pull a rabbit out the hat again and play like that again? I don't think so. Wide receiver 5 last week in PPR at the Dallas Cowboys, and this isn't a cupcake matchup up against the Kansas City Chiefs defense. So while I'm adding Wan'Dale Robinson, and while I do think he's a fine bye week fill-in, I don't think he's going to be able to do that yet again, and I think a lot of people are going to pick him up. They're going to play him. Oh my gosh, did you see what he did last week, Nick? I can't wait to play Wan'Dale Robinson, and then Wan'Dale Robinson ends up playing you like a fiddle. He played 47 snaps last week, right? And Neighbors and Slayton played 66 of 67. Now, Darius Slayton has been invisible. He's been doing the John Cena, you can't see him, but that's not the best. But again, Slayton just 4 targets through those 2 games. Malik is 25. Wan'Dale has 18. Again, I don't want to shit on Wan'Dale too much because he did just pop off. He showed that upside, but I'm still super hesitant to be like, you got to start Wan'Dale Robinson in week 3. Not going to be saying that. Next up, we got Cedric Tillman, wide receiver of the Cleveland Browns, going up against the Green Bay Packers at home in Cleveland. 47% rostered on Sleeper. Before we talk about Cedric Tillman and the rest of the waiver wire ads, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends, our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using the link in the video description or by using promo code Notorious, you'll receive a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds. You'll also receive a free pick, as well as if you do a $5 pick'em, you will get $50 in bonus funds. How pick'em works on Underdog is incredibly simple. You pick at least 2 players, and as long as you hit the higher or the lower on those players, you will win. If you put in multiple other players, if instead of 2, you do 3, 4, 5, the more players you put in there, the higher the payout will be. There's going to be an example on your screen so you can see how it works as well. So make sure you guys do check that out, promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. So Cedric Tillman, he's coming off of a high. Week number 1, 16.2 fantasy points up against the Cincinnati Bengals. I said, you know what? I'm fine starting Tillman, but I'm not going to oogle and ogle over this matchup up against the Ravens. Things could get ugly, but he might get some targets deeper into the game. He was the wide receiver 40 up against the Ravens in Baltimore. 7 targets, 2 receptions, 1 tug. Back-to-back weeks with a touchdown. Very nice. Very nice. He leads the team in targets at the wide receiver position outside of Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy 16, Tillman 15. He has 7 receptions on the season. Jeudy has 9, and he has 2 touchdowns. Every other wide receiver has 0. This is very clearly a 2 wide receiver team, right? Bond, Thrash, they're going to get snaps, but Bond plays 28 snaps out of 73. Thrash plays 20. Cedric Tillman, 69. Very nice, I like. And 64 for Jerry Jeudy. I still do think Judy's the wide receiver 1 on this team, and there's obviously always going to be the worries that the Cleveland Browns are just a dog shit team, and, you know, that just kind of hurts Cedric Tillman, but they're going to be down, throwing the ball late a ton. Up against the Packers, though, this is not really a player that I'm going to be risking throwing into my lineup. Next up, we got Zach Ertz, tight end of the Washington Commanders, going up against the Las Vegas Raiders at home in Washington this week. 52% rostered on Sleeper. Tight end Dose last week up against the Green Bay Packers. 18.4 PPR points, 8 targets, 6 receptions, 64 yards, and a touchdown back-to-back weeks inside of the end zone. Week 2 snaps out of 69. Ertz plays 62. Even as a old man, all other tight ends 9 or fewer. Important to monitor the health of Jaden Stormy Daniels. If Jaden Daniels, for some reason, cannot go this week, my assumption is that, yes, he will play. I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sins. I don't know for sure that he's going to play, but that would just be my assumption. He'll probably be limited with running the ball. Zach Ertz is very viable weekly just because the Commanders in any given week can score 30-plus points. They can put up a big game. I get the Commanders' offense looked a little bit lost. They looked a little bit off last week. But that's because they're playing up against the Packers, who, in my opinion, have the best or the second best defense in the NFL. You know, Denver, I think, is the best, but it's kind of arguable at this point who has the best defense. So not an ideal matchup for Ertz, and he still pays off. So this week, going up against the Raiders, assuming that Jaden Daniels plays, and again, assumptions can make an ass out of you and me, so we got to, you know, pay attention to the injury reports for Jaden Daniels, but if he can play, Ertz is definitely going to be serviceable. If Juwan Jennings and Zach Ertz are not available in your league. And the next guy we are going to discuss right now, Harold Fannin Jr., tight end of the Cleveland Browns, going up against the Green Bay Packers, 67% roster on Sleeper. Let me know in the comments section who's available, and I'll help you pick up the scraps there. Because again, the tight end position this year is looking brutal in terms of kind of the mid-round guys that you might have selected, the Hawkinsons. With Carson Wentz, oh boy, no, right? Maybe the Mike Gesicki that you might have wanted to pick up. Now, his quarterback is down for the count, sadly, with Joe Burrow, right? There's a lot of big question marks right now. Harold Fannin, tight end 12, back-to-back solid performances for the rookie up against the Baltimore Ravens. He scored his second most points ever because he scored 13.6 in week 1, 9.8 last week, 5 of 5 for 48 yards. Pretty good. Pretty good. He played 46 snaps. Njoku played 60 snaps. I still think Njoku is the better of the 2 tight ends, but as of right now, through 2 games, Fannin has the most targets and the most receptions. I don't think you can give up on Njoku yet because he's put up 2 okay enough games to where I'd be fine rolling him out there. Whereas a guy like Andrews, I mean, after you fooled me twice, can't really get fooled again. Might end up playing him in one of my leagues because I'm a sicko like that. I genuinely believe in Mark Andrews. But let's be honest with you, if you don't believe in him anymore, he's like on the last straw for me. I probably won't end up playing him this week, though, if I'm being honest with you. After Fannin, we see Jeremy McNichols, running back of the Washington Commanders, going up against the Raiders. We're not going to scream again for the Raiders. 0% rostered on Sleeper. So for anyone in the comment section, Nick, a lot of these players aren't available on my waiver wire, Nick. I play in a 16-team league where you start 2 quarterbacks, you start 7 wide receivers, and 3 running backs. These waiver videos are for fucking noobs. That's what people say in the comment section. They get all hot and bothered because they play in leagues with 72 people playing in them, okay? And I try to help you out, too. If you're in one of those leagues, it's fine, right? I'm just fucking around. It's a video. I wouldn't say that if I didn't enjoy the people that commented on the videos. Those comments are always funny to me. I appreciate you guys. But if you need help and, some of these guys aren't available, just ask in the comment section. Be like, oh, the best players available on my waiver wire are these players. And I typically answer the question. So Jeremy McNichols, Austin Eckler is out for the season with the torn Achilles. I have been an Austin Eckler fan for years. I damn near shed a tear when I saw that motherfucker go down with the Achilles. You just knew instantly it was bad. I'm not a doctor. I will never be a doctor because I'm not smart enough to become one. But anyone that's watched football, sports for a while, you saw him go down, and you just instantly thought that's a season ender, and that sucks. I'm hoping Austin Eckler is able to recover and able to keep playing, but at his age, at this point, I don't know if he will come back. And I know that sounds a little bit grim, but it's kind of true. Austin Eckler done for the season with the Achilles. So Jeremy McNichols, Jacory, Krosky, Moret, Bill Nye, the science guy, Bill, little Bill on the team too. Chris Rodriguez as well. Last week, 69 snaps. Eckler, 36, which was just gross usage. Like, look, I'm sorry that Eckler got hurt. I don't wish injury on anyone. But with the efficiency he was running the rock, it was downright. I was ready to shatter my television, and I don't even like the Commanders. I don't even give a fuck that they lost, okay? And it was so frustrating. McNichols, 16 snaps, JCM, 15. I think we're to see more McNichols than we want as JCM enthusiasts, but I ultimately think JCM, Uncle Bill, Little Bill, will become the guy on this team, but McNichols is worthy of a speculative ad. Final guy here is going to be Hunter Renfrow, the lunch pail guy. First guy in, last guy out. I just love how Hunter Renfrow plays the game, man. Wide receiver of the Carolina Panthers going up against the Atlanta Falcons, 3% rostered on Sleeper. Now, Hunter Renfrow reeks of, oh my gosh, I can't wait to blow all my fab on Hunter Renfrow. You remember how good Hunter Renfrow was a couple of years ago on the Raiders? And then they unload the clip. They pick up Renfrow. He scored 23 points last week. 9 targets, 7 receptions. He had 48 yards and not one. It was buy one, get one free in the end zone because the motherfucker got 2 touchdowns for Hunter Renfrow. 72 snaps out of 85 for T-Mac. 69 for Renfrow. 68 for Leggett. Xavier Leggett looks terrible. Xavier Leggett looks laughably bad. I know the guy's got a funny accent and he seems like a nice guy. And you know what? I'm happy for Leggett. He got his bag for being the pick that he was, but fucking Leggett sucks. Let's be honest, Leggett stinks. Renfrow is going to be the number 2 receiver, but Bryce Young also didn't look that good in my opinion. Through the first half, he was downright terrible. He starts to figure it out towards the end of the game, kind of in garbage time. We'll see how that goes. Renfrow is definitely worthy of an ad, but again, don't pick up Renfrow thinking this is going to be an every week occurrence. We just saw the Falcons defense look really good up against the Vikings and JJ McCarthy last week. So again, pick up Renfrow. Go right ahead. See what happens, right? Don't just insert him. Don't just throw him to the Wolves in week number 3 because that's how you get disappointed. Ted McMillan on the season, 19 targets. Hunter Renfrow is 15. The next closest guy is Leggett with 15. Leggett has 15 targets and 4 catches for 8 yards. 4 catches for 8 yards. 26.7% catch rate. Not very good. So, sorry, Leggett, man, but not looking good for you. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you didn't end up enjoying, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video to help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you have not seen them already. And I hope you guys do enjoy Monday Night Football, the doubleheader tonight. I love you long time. Have a great one. As always, good boy.